Ladies and gentlemen, back from Washington, D.C. Ladies and gentlemen, I think they got something they want to say. I think they got something they want to say. Ladies and gentlemen, I think they got something they want to say. Washington, D.C. I think they got something they want to say.
Welcome back to another episode of Politics Podcast. I'm your host, Kerstyn, the liberal, moderately liberal. Nah, never mind. I can't get it. Who else do I have here?
Hey everybody, I am Elad, host of the YouTube channel Barely Informed with Elad. Thank you guys so much for having me.
Yes.
All right. It's hello, everybody's favorite conservative in New York, Christopher Wright.
Yes, and we are the Politics Podcast. Today we're on episode 25. All right.
Oh man, we're getting older, man.
And I know we're getting out there. Sorry for not posting a podcast last week. We just kind of got a little bit busy.
Please forgive us. It's the holidays, guys.
Yes.
You know how it is. All of us got to do with the holidays.
That's right. That's right. So we're trying. But thanks everybody for listening. Continue to share. Follow us on Politics Podcast on Instagram, Twitter, Politics Pod. Find us on YouTube. And if you are listening to us on YouTube right now, hit like, subscribe, and probably leave a comment. All right. We were supposed to do a web live kind of configuration today, but with Elad's channel, Barely Informed. But unfortunately, we didn't have the proper, we're just
going to have to wait until next time.
Yeah, we're going to have to do. Because guess what? You know what the good news is? If you notice, Maxine is not here today. And unfortunately, Maxine's not going to be with us for a couple of episodes. She'll be back in a couple of, I think she's going to come back in December and get back on our show. But she's just getting herself sorted in where she is. And she sends her love, and she's really excited. She's still posting on Instagram, so if you see posts, that's her, doing her thing. So today we have a guest host with us who's probably going to be with us for the next couple of episodes. You've heard him on Elad. How are you?
I'm doing well.
You're good?
It's been good. It's been getting a little bit cold in New York City, but that comes as expected. So.
This is not cold. This is like winter, cold. Like, this is not November cold. Like, I feel like this is like February cold. No?
I'm ready for it. I'm ready for whatever they have coming here.
Yeah.
Makes you think about that global warming stuff, huh? Right?
It makes you think about it, or makes you forget about it?
No, it makes you think about it a little bit more.
I know. It does, though. You have to say that we had the warmest July ever.
I didn't.
Recorded.
I didn't.
Like,
in New York City, or is that like average worldwide?
Average, yeah. It was an average, like the warmest, like in New York. I mean, I'm sorry, warmest, like July. That was recorded everywhere.
Yikes.
So, we kind of have to start, really paying attention to this climate.
Let's pay more attention to Greta. How dare us? Mm-hmm. How dare you?
I mean,
pay more attention to China. What are you guys up to?
Yeah, and United States and everywhere. Because even in, like, if you go to like certain places around the world, they like use diesel fuel. Like, it's still not.
We still use diesel fuel here.
That's true.
We still use diesel fuel here.
That's true. That is true. Where do we use diesel fuel?
In our cars, in our trucks.
Well, I'm talking about like the exhaust that like pumps out and then it's like really bad. Well, that's true.
Yeah, they still have them at the gas stations.
But the thing is, that's the reason why they want us to do a lot more. They want to sell more Teslas because they want us to stop being, gas guzzlers.
Elon Musk wants to move to Mars, so he needs the money. He's a guy at Dodge.
You wouldn't want a Tesla?
I wouldn't mind a Tesla. I mean, if somebody's giving me a Tesla, but what I like personally,
would you buy one?
I mean, it's just expensive. It's an expensive car, man. It's cool and everything, but I'll get like a Subaru or something like that. You know what I mean?
I'd buy a Tesla.
Of course you would.
I'd buy a Tesla.
Yeah.
I have, my brother has one of those electric scooters, and it rolls nice. So
electric scooter, the ones the ones that like they have.
It's called the boosted board.
The bird ones. Oh, he's got a boosted board.
Yeah.
The way I saw one of those in the ocean. I saw one that can go in the ocean like in.
I don't know about those.
No. It's like a skateboard.
Neistat.
Casey. Yeah. Casey's I love Casey.
Yeah. So my brother has it in the scooter form, and it's unbelievable.
Wait, I'm looking this up.
I whip it.
Wait, so my fiance, who if he's listening to this, he literally has been on me about getting, well, I think for Christmas, that's his gift. He's going to get a electric scooter.
It's amazing.
But we keep looking up different ones. So if anybody listening that knows, like, that owns an electric scooter and you have, like, a good one, because I see a lot of track scooters? Have you seen the ones that's black and red? Everybody's using those in New York.
As far as I know, the Boosted Board brand.
But that's probably the best one,
it's
right?
the most expensive, but it's worth it. And that's coming from Casey Neistat, too. And that's not only coming from me.
Has he been posting?
No, but from a while ago. He like wrote all the electric boards, and he said that is his favorite. And I'll take his word for it.
YouTuber guy?
Yeah. He's so dope.
He's in New York. Yeah.
Listen, he's the reason why I honestly can tell you he literally changed the way people vlog. He's the reason why everybody's like making money on YouTube. You know what I mean?
I'm envious of his cinematography skills. He's very good with the camera.
Yes, he is. Big anti-Trump.
Very good with the camera.
He makes it so interesting.
Yeah.
And he's okay. So you know what? We can talk about him for a second because he is also political.
Anti-Trumper.
Anti-Trumper. Oh, you know.
I know enough about him.
Okay.
That's where I know him.
He's an anti-Trumper early on, right? So he wasn't a Hillary supporter either. So he was a little bit like, I followed him from like 2015. And he was like, he supported Obama. He helped, canvass for Obama. He helped, help him get in office. He went to both his what do you call it? I was about
inaugurations.
I was going to say impeachments, but no, that's another president. But
Bill Clinton.
Good, okay. And Trump. Okay.
Not having it.
That was good. So he went to those. Oh wow, this 1,500. Sheesh, that's pretty expensive.
Oof, it's worth it.
But it's probably worth it. I wonder how fast it is. Is it really fast?
At least 25 miles per hour, and it goes
just the fastest
25
one.
Fast.
On a freaking sidewalk,
fast. Man. It's exhilarating, and it's definitely
not
not 100%. Yeah. Kind of regularly, at least a dozen times or so. Like I go to hang out with my brother now to ride it. It's scary and it's definitely not safe. I wear a helmet. Even with the helmet, it's still not safe.
Yeah,
but,
it don't sound safe if the scooter going that fast.
No, especially in the New York City streets, it's tough out here.
Yeah, and then it makes you want to go faster, right?
Yes.
So you're like pushing it to the
limit.
limit.
Whipping it. Every opportunity, I'm whipping it.
No, that's crazy. But yeah, so Casey got into a lot of trouble with his fan base because he like said some stuff saying like we shouldn't support Trump and stuff, and people got so angry because he usually doesn't put any content. Like they were mad when he first said that he was like a Democrat and he was leaning towards he had helped get Obama in office. But then when he posted about him saying like he's not a supporter of Trump, and I mean he wasn't really a supporter of Hillary either, but he was like giving his support to her. People like unsubscribed to him, and it was like the first time I really saw a lot of hate towards him. And it's just kind of sad that it's like you can't even talk
politics.
You can't talk about who you support.
Unfortunately, I mean, not unfortunately. It's Trump is another level. That's why, it's really when you bring up anything with the Trump name right now, it's gonna bring somebody's gonna get pissed off somewhere. Just hearing it. That's why I know. I say the T word when I'm in public when I'm talking with my Trump supporting friends. So you can't say the T word probably too loud in here. You know what I mean?
Sheesh.
I think people want their entertainment to be separate from politics, and and this is especially true for like apolitical people. For like people. Most of the country doesn't really give a crap about politics. So to hear about that stuff, really they're not trying to hear it. And it makes sense to me. People nowadays, Americans specifically, feel like they have politics shoved down their throat. And it's true, they do. So when they're going somewhere for entertainment, when they're trying to watch YouTube videos of Casey, or when they're trying to watch basketball,
sports, right.
They don't want politics involved. They just want their entertainment. That's their way to get away from all of that. So when you involve it more in the places where people are trying to get away with it from it, you're going to get that pushback, and that's what that is.
I totally agree. That's why I started watching the NFL. Is when they brought Neilgate crap in there. I'm like, bro, you guys are messing with my football now. Like, why are you bringing politics into football? This is football. It's sports entertainment.
Right.
Why are you guys?
But why do they bring the arm? I mean, like they bring the armed forces in it. I mean, it's already politicized when, like, the armed forces or USO is spending so much money to have us do the national anthem. And
I stopped watching football because the refs are bad and the sport's kind of ruined.
Okay, so
there's a whole other issue about the refs and pass interference and what's a touchdown, what's a catch. These are fundamental questions that they don't know the answer to in football. So that's really obnoxious. So that's why I'm done with football. But piggybacking off of your point about like the veterans being involved, I think that's like an American and patriotic thing. I'm not going to say it's not political, but I think Kaepernick kind of took it to another level, of sorts. And football's going down the drain anyway. And I think recently we've seen it with Deadspin, a publication that really recently had to sell out. They went woke and then went broke. People stopped being interested once they stopped talking about sports. So I still think it holds true where we need to separate entertainment from politics.
You could be a bit like baseball. Boring like baseball.
Well, yeah, no. I think one person took a knee in baseball, get catch. I forgot what team he was.
The pitcher just wore a MAGA hat.
The World Series.
So even there, I'm not happy about that. It's annoying.
I forgot about that.
But that was a White House visit. I think it's the only time.
Still in baseball too. It's still political in baseball. So everything, and we need to take it out. We need
Give
to
me
take
an example of boxing. Does that already like? They got
Muhammad
booed.
Ali.
He got booed. He got booed at the MMA.
It wasn't booed. It was like half cheers. It was. I saw the UFC event. It wasn't boxing. UFC.
Oh, UFC. Okay.
Yeah, and he came out, and it was a little bit of mixture of both, but it was mostly cheers, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And even the Trump family came out, and Trump Jr. tweeted about it being a good event and everything like that. Mad love for my pops and all that. So.
Well, let me
Muhammad Ali's a draft dodger. I just wanted to get that in there. That's the most recent time that boxing was political.
Just
wanted to get that scoop in there.
So was Trump.
Yeah.
More debatably, supposedly because of bone spurs.
And Mike Tyson and Floyd Mayweather Jr., big Trump supporters, came out and supported him before the election.
They are. They absolutely are.
I don't.
They're both too.
What do you guys think about athletes' perspective on politics? Because I don't respect them. So when people say like, so and so supports Trump, it's just, I don't really give a crap that so and so
like it's
supports
like
Trump.
Who cares what Ja Rule has to think about the 9/11? Like,
but even like specific,
the joke, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like we don't care what Ja Rule thinks. I'm scared to death. Like, why do we want? Because do you know that joke of like what was it?
Ja Rule the rapper. Yeah.
Dave Chappelle said he has this famous joke of during 9/11, they're like MTV is having this kind of live function where they're talking about like what's going on and everything, and we're having all these commentators like, all right, let's get a comment from Ja Rule, and then we like have a live play of like Ja Rule talking about nothing, like it's scary, it's crazy, like nothing has nothing to like nothing like profound that's gonna like help anybody, and so Dave Chappelle says, I don't want to hear what Ja Rule has to think. I'm scared to death.
Chappelle's a man.
He's the man.
God, Chappelle.
Dave Chappelle is a genius.
Coming after cancel culture.
He's a genius.
Comedic genius. I've been saying that about Chappelle since Robin Hood Men in Tights, by the way, in 1991. First time I saw him, I was like, this guy's going to be a goat.
Oh, really?
Oh, definitely. I knew Dave Chappelle from day one. Every movie he's been in since Robin Hood Men in Tights, I watched him. Nutty Professor, everything popped up in for 2 seconds. The one we did, the movie where the guy was a pimp and he was like a friend in the movie. But Chappelle's the man. He's always.
I think Chappelle builds bridges with cultures in America. Talking from like a person who's not a person of color, growing up watching the Chappelle Show helped me understand Black culture more. And I don't think Dave Chappelle's impact on like the culture bridging could be overstated, because everybody's a fan of Dave Chappelle, and he represents very well.
No, he does. It definitely does. I used to watch Chappelle with my friends who were Hispanic, who were white, Black, and we'd be in the same room, all of us together. And the only time somebody can go that deep on racial stuff would be him telling jokes. And it's funny. And it's so deep that it would make everybody never was laughing, because everybody knew it was true. Yeah. If you were white, he's like, damn, he nailed you, white guys.
Yeah.
Like, if you're Black, you're like, you got us, man. He's good. He's good.
So
and you can't deny it.
So. He's so good. He's so intelligent. Like, and I tell you, I like Trevor Noah. I told you, like, he's like one of my favorites. Just really intelligent. I just like intelligent people that can really break down things, and he has like a worldview, so it gives you another aspect of what we're going through. And he was saying that he was getting nervous because he had to open up for Dave Chappelle in New York, and he was like, man, he told Dave, he's like, I'm not even the funniest guy here. Like, why? Like, I'm like, why am I doing this? And he's like, he's like, I can get anybody. There's thousands of people that are funnier than you. He says the reason why I picked you is because you're interesting. He's like, it's not about how funny you are, it's how interesting you are. It's it's interesting how people tune into you because you're interesting. Because the way and that's the same reason why I like him, because I like the way his mind thinks and how he breaks down things. And even though he's talking bad about Trump, I don't always feel, it's not like an attack like, like Jimmy Kimmel doing
Or
it,
Don Lemon.
or okay, Don Lemon. I actually
Like you tell you
Don
he
Lemon's
hates him. He has hate in his heart for Trump. Right?
I know,
You see his eyes.
Everybody's like so anti-Trump. So let's talk. Let's politic first. You ready to politic?
course,
Okay,
always.
let's get into it. So it was Veterans Day yesterday. Did you guys do anything special, being Trump supporters?
Yeah, I was out in Long Island for Veterans Day. I was, I had a big event here in the city, but I wasn't unfortunately there for the event. But the reason why my good friend of mine is getting married next month, December, and he had his
Bachelor
party. There we go. In Long Island, that's where he grew up. His name's Colin. I'm not gonna say his last name, but
Okay.
Veterans of New York is the group he runs. So shout out to Veterans in New York.
Oh, so you guys went and did something for veterans?
Oh no, we just went there in his high school and got the kids from his childhood were there, and we just drank and had a good time.
Cool.
Visited a couple bars out there and stuff, and did our thing, man. It was a good time, so I definitely enjoyed it. But the day of Veterans Day, they were having like a rally, a Trump rally, not too far where he lived, and there was a good group of people out there, probably around 80, 100 people out there with Trump flags waving in there, chanting Trump and all that. So showing love to the president on Veterans Day out there.
But he was actually in town. He was here for the...
Oh, definitely. The first president in American history to be at a Veterans Day event.
Yeah, he was there for the Veterans Day. He was here in New York, and it was... my experience is I was trying to navigate through the traffic, and it was crazy. Like, when he comes here, when any president comes into town, it's just like New York is like shut down. You can't go anywhere. Everything is like super like blocked off and stuff. But it looked like a lot of people came out to support, like a lot of his like Trump supporters were there. Like you kind of see a lot of them when they're, when he's in town. So it was like, oh, okay.
I was able to actually cover a lot of the Veterans Day event festivities that we had here. So as you mentioned, it was the 100th anniversary of the Veterans Day parade that we do here in New York City. And I believe this is the first time that we had a sitting president come and speak at the event, which some people doesn't mean crap. Some people says it means a lot. Some people say it shows resolve, but that was interesting. There were a good amount of Trump supporters, but I'd say just as many protesters were at the event too. And they had a really interesting perspective because I'm familiar with these groups that organize these protests, and they're very anti-military protesters. So they're out there and they're really just slamming Trump and like slamming him for not being in the army. But at the end of the day, these guys hate veterans. So it was just interesting.
How can you hate a veteran? How's that possible?
Oh, there's a lot of people who same people who hate police. The same people who hate police.
Well, what did a veteran do? Like, they literally just fought for the country.
They represent an alpha male.
Well, they represent the imperial American empire trying to, inflict their will on other countries. Is how some like far leftists see it. Mm-hmm. So one last point on that. It was interesting because like these guys were defending John McCain. I interviewed this one guy who had a sign up that said, "Remember John McCain." And I knew this guy didn't like John McCain, so I talked to the guy. I asked him like, "So you have a sign that says Remember John McCain? Like, what should we remember John McCain for?" It's a genuine question,
right?
And he was like, "To be honest, like I'm not even really a John McCain fan." And then I followed up with him and asked, like, "Don't you think it's interesting that like Democrats right now are out here talking about how great John McCain was now that he passed away, but they were saying horrible things about him when he was running for president?" This guy was like, "No, I don't even think that's true." So it's crazy. Like anything. This just goes to show.
He was a warmonger when he was alive. They called him.
It goes to show whatever Trump touches turns into gold for the opposite party. Like now Trump withdrawing from northern Syria, now that's a bad thing. So whatever Trump does, the opposite becomes the right thing to do. And it's crazy because it has people defending people like John McCain, somebody that like it was unanimous, at least on the Democrat side, that they disliked him, but now they like him. So
he was he ran against Obama, so that was one thing, and like that was, and then he brought like what's her name to the public, Sarah Palin, and
I feel like it's what he represented. He was a military man. He would have been the most recent president who I believe served in the military. Bush Sr. right now is the most recent one to serve in the military. So is that even something we appreciate today in the modern day? It doesn't feel like we respect our veterans the way we should in the modern day. Do you guys feel that?
Well, what do you mean?
When it comes to those two, I will say this about being president. I feel like it's not always a case if we're good in the military, you served, highly ranked officer doesn't mean you're going to be a great president. I think Bush Sr. wasn't that great of a president. I think McCain wouldn't have made a great president. I think McCain would have put us in wars. And if you even look at McCain's record when he was a soldier. I mean, the guy was a prisoner of war. I mean, he got the, I know he got the Purple Heart and all that good stuff, but supposedly he got it for snitching on a lot of his fellow soldiers while he was locked up. Not saying that, hey, if anybody who's a prisoner of war out there, all the veterans out there, it's one of those things that you say, Chris, it's easier to say on the mic, but actually be there and tell me that. I understand that, but I just think that McCain gets a little too much credit sometimes. And if you actually look what the man stood for, he was a president that just would have put us into war after war after war. And I don't know. I think he gets a little too much credit where credit's due. And the fact that Democrats are worshiping this guy now is insane to me.
I don't know if we would definitely not. I know Democrats are not worshiping him. Here's what it is. It's just, this is what gets misconstrued. I think it's sometimes the media kind of helps perpetuate this standard where one little thing can be said and then it's like overblown. Basically, Democrats specifically, felt hurt by the way Trump was talking bad about McCain, like saying, like, just talking about him, and then he hadn't even served, so it just felt like, how could you do? Not only has he given his life to he basically almost died in war in Vietnam. He also was a senator in Arizona. Was it Arizona?
It was.
Yeah, for like a bajillion years, and he's been a faithful server for the country. So it's not like we may not like, the thing is, I don't he's gun toting. I don't believe in the wars. Like, I don't believe in a lot of the things that he believes in, but I do like that he stood up when it was time to like when Trump was trying to get the healthcare bill.
Nothing unites people like being against Trump. It's
no,
amazing.
but also the healthcare. No, but you have to. But remember, he was the vote, the senator that helped stop Trump from taking the healthcare, Obamacare, away.
I think that's a bad thing.
And that's a bad thing.
I think that's a bad thing.
Agree.
Well, I mean, I think.
He was being a Democrat. I mean, you're a conservative. What are you doing? Like, he's a backstabber, just like he was when he was a soldier.
Oh,
I mean,
but I do think that I think the healthcare. Okay, so Obamacare really gets a really, really bad name because it hasn't been. It's like it's going to take some time for it to work, and people are not giving it a chance.
It's already dead, right? Like,
it's pretty. I mean, it's not. I mean, people still can. You still need to have healthcare.
Sure, but like, ever revisited, it would be the next Democrat president that revisited it would get all the credit, right? The next Democrat elected would be a candidate who does Medicare for all in some form,
right?
Yeah, that's what the whole point of Obama was supposed to do in the first place. That's what we got him in office for.
Yeah, I mean, he tried. He tried, and that was the best way he could. I mean, I
don't know about that. He
ensured a lot of like millions.
House and Senate at that time.
He ensured not during when he not when he
what was his first 2 years in office?
But that's not when he. I
know he had the House and the Senate at one point.
Yeah, but he did in the first 2 years, and then it was over right after that, and then that was it. He never had it, but he didn't. But that's not when he did healthcare. It was after that.
But his campaign, he said he's going to get it done.
Yeah, it was.
Trump gets things done.
But that's a good. Okay, so that's
disagree. I don't think Trump gets things done. Name a few things that Trump got done.
Let's talk.
The prison reform, the First Step Act, he got that done. We got the tax cuts done.
I think that's a bad thing.
Okay, tell me.
Why are we letting out criminals back onto the streets, right? I think these people are put in jail for a reason.
Okay.
Now, I'm not talking about lowly drug dealers or lowly drug offenses. I'm talking about things like weapons charges. I'm talking about people who've committed murder and things like that. I don't want those violent offenders back on the streets. And we need to look at the statistics in the right way, because there are people who plead down. That's how it works in our legal system. Yeah. So what's on paper is not exactly what's going on, and we need to look at it at a case-by-case basis. So what did Trump accomplish? Letting more criminals back onto the streets? Well,
it's not necessarily. I don't know if they're all. I think they might be non-violent. Some of them are non-violent.
I know he let out violent offenders.
And that's what the First Step is all about. Is getting those people that are in jail for BS. Bill Clinton 3 strikes law put a lot of people in jail for BS. I mean, I could have easily been in jail younger. You know what I mean? Hanging out with my friends, smoking marijuana. Got caught 3 times with a dime bag. Boom, that's some jail time. So it's like. That's
not happening now. That's not happening. You're caught with marijuana, at least in New York. At least from what I see, from what I experienced.
He's talking about before.
It's decriminalized now.
Well, he's talking about before, but you also have to understand that before there was like the violence and the crimes that were being committed in like these urban communities because they had no. See, it was an outcry. Like people people don't sell drugs for fun. It's not like a fun thing to do for people of color. It's not like they wake up in the morning like, I can't wait to do that. It's because they do it out of survival. They have nothing. There's no food. There's no opportunities.
They sell drugs for survival?
Yes.
I disagree.
What is it for then?
I think there's...
I think
it
to
for
get ahead.
passion?
I mean, is that what your experience when you see drug dealers around? Is your experience that the drug dealers of, they're just doing it to get by? That's not the situation. Maybe the guy on the street corner, like the homeless guy slanging, but I don't think that's most.
But I'm talking about before. Maybe I think.
Maybe
like present
early,
time,
like early
present
80s.
time, yeah. I'm talking like 90s, late 80s. Present time, let's exclude that because now it's more of like a social thing because people are lazy, I think.
And does that justify it? Does that justify selling poison to our communities?
No,
right?
it does
and
not.
We're seeing the opioid crisis.
Absolutely
Okay,
not.
I'm just making sure that we're not justifying evil things.
Oh no, I would never. You know why I don't? Because here's the thing. See, I'm a person that believes if you do a crime, then you do the time. Like, period. Like, that's it. Because I could have easily started selling drugs or doing something horrible and then going to jail. But if I choose to follow the law like we're supposed to, we should all be doing that. Like, it's not. And okay, maybe my upbringing, I had a different upbringing. I had both my parents in my life. Both my parents are, my dad's a diplomat. My mom is an executive. So I've traveled the world before I was even 5 years old. I've been awarded certain things, but I do feel like it's like I think that there's one thing that I do have to say, and a lot of the Black conservatives have been saying this, and I'm starting to really I appreciate that they're saying this, is the fact that the victimhoodness that Black people have shared for so long, I do feel like that is something that is holding back people of color from going after what they should go after. They're doing right. You know what I mean? And I don't, but again, I also know the circumstance, and I know it's so nuanced that it's easier said than done. Like, you and I both share having both our parents in our lives. That's not a common thing in a lot of Black people's lives. Yeah, because, for one reason or another.
No, I think one of the big reasons is because nowadays being Black is celebrated as being a thug, being a gangster, not having a family with a wife and kids and a picket fence. They don't write rapping about that. They're rapping about baby mama drama, rapping about their having side chicks and having 3 or 4, and this is glamorized, and this is what people think. This is what being a Black is about now, is living in this crazy broken up household, and that's going to create single parent households, simply plain and easy. So we need to get back to just thinking like we used to think, and just like family first. America first, family first, get things done. And that's going to me, resolve itself over time. But until then, we need to get people, a Black, leader. And I'm not a big fan of Black leaders, but people in the Black community that could help these people that are growing up in these situations, show them there's another path.
Lead yourself. That's the whole, it's like lead yourself.
But lead by example.
Wake up in the morning. We have a lot of examples of powerful people.
Hey guys, it's Maxine here with a special message for our listeners. I want to thank you for listening to Politics Podcast and wanted to share an exciting offer to entrepreneurs and supporters. We are now offering businesses the opportunity to be advertised on our show during this mid-roll. If you're interested, please email hello@politicspodcast.com. We are also taking support from our listeners through the Anchor app. Just click the Support This Podcast button and you can give whatever you want. The funding is helpful to increase our production so we can add video and start marketing and advertising for our podcast. We appreciate you, and please continue to listen to the show.
This is good. This is actually an interesting topic. I'm going to jump out of the topic that we talked about, but this is good, and I think you guys will appreciate this. So in DC, I think this was 2 weeks ago, Jeff Bezos came to a high school, and he was in an urban high school where, predominantly Black. And he walked in and the teacher was like, "Oh, hi, Jeff Bezos." And she's freaking out, "Oh my God." And she's a Black woman, "Oh my God, hi." So excited. And the kids are like, "Who the heck is that?" No one recognizes him. No one knows who he is. Right. And thank you. And this is also a fan question. So a fan sent it to us, a supporter, I should say, who sent it to us on Instagram. And I appreciate this topic because I wonder what you think about how people of color are being forced to be athletes. Because I bet you if that was LeBron James or Drake or someone, in the music or an athlete, it would have been a different reception.
So let's say the last part of the question again.
My question is really like, what do you think we need to do? Is there something that in school we need to do now to like start like glorifying like different paths of success? Like,
definitely.
It's not necessary, like, because if LeBron came in or like I said, Drake came in, I think the reception, everybody would have dropped, they would have went crazy.
Yeah, and that kind of goes
but
off
like a billionaire, a multi-billionaire walks into your classroom and not one person is like excited, like, oh my God, and they're in a computer class, mind you. And nobody is excited and like, let me jump for joy. Like, I can ask this guy anything I want. He might be able to give me an internship. Like, it would have, if I was in that class, I think I probably would have asked like 100 questions. You know what I mean? How can I work at Amazon? I would love to be, this is the billionaire. You know?
Right. I think that goes a little bit to what I said earlier about leading by example. We need to have leaders promoted in our community and the media that are just everyday people who are successful. And they can teach the culture. And they can
culture. One thing, the culture. Because what is the leader in these communities? What are they told to do in school? What are the ways out, right? What are the ways to become successful? It's rapper or athlete for too many of these. Or that's the dream to be, is either rapper or athlete. And those are occupations that you don't have a high chance of being successful in. Just the amount of raw spots of athletes available and rappers available for this to actually be a viable career doesn't actually exist. But do you know what would make sense for them? Lawyer, doctor. There's a lot more opportunities there.
Right.
And maybe if they had the right motivational people involved in their lives, maybe if the culture was slightly different. We were talking about selling drugs a little bit earlier. I think it's like, what is it? Rap, play ball, or sell drugs?
Yep. Singing.
Unfortunately, that's like the three options that I think most of the black youth views their options as. I think that's what the
put on a dress, and if you're a guy, and do a stand-up comedy or something. But no, that's what it really is. Father, that's why father is so important. A father let me know at a very young age, you're not going to be a professional basketball player, son. I hate to break it to you. I like you, I love you. You got a great jump shot, but you're 5'9", 5'10". You play like a center. No way it's happening. And that's the reality. So what do you want to do? He always would ask me, what's your career want to be? Career. My dad was so big on talking about my career, my future. So I learned, and with thanks to him, I felt like I focused on like, okay, let me be real here. What do I want to do? I'm good with computers. Let me get in technology. Then as time went by, I've done a few sales jobs. I crushed it. I was like, okay, this is where I'm going. And I've been there since. But at the end of the day, you need people in your life that can give you the real, to be honest.
But how lucky are you to say you had the father in your life? Because not every, it's almost like telling someone like if a millionaire walked up to us right now and said, you guys, why aren't you guys all millionaires? I did it. You guys should do it too.
So easy.
Do you know what I mean? It's so easy. I became a millionaire. It's the same kind of, it's so simple to tell someone how easy it is to do something when you're not in their shoes having to deal with the things like, because like I've had these conversations plenty of times with people who've lived in, who grew up in projects, who grew up in hard, tough, having a mom who's never home, having to deal with, before they left their house, there's all the drama they get through and before they even get to their school. Do you know what I mean? So it's easy to tell someone, well, why can't you become a lawyer? It's like, how? My school, my education in my class, the teacher's not even paying attention to me. She just can't wait to finish class so she can go on and do whatever she has to do because she's given up on all of the students. So these are the things that a lot of people of color have to deal with today.
I want to confirm one thing and decipher it properly just to make sure we're not mixing up what we're talking about. Because there's one thing with single parenthood and I think that's much worse than many other things. So I think there's issues that communities of colors face specifically and other issues that people with one parent face specifically, and they're not always the same, and it's not mutually exclusive. When you're being black, you're not going to necessarily have a single parent.
My best friend in a single parent household, grew up in Baltimore, white guy. Rough.
I think single parenthood is worse than growing. I think that's more marginalized, if anything.
What's worse, being a single parent?
If I had to choose between being a black person with two parents versus being a white person with one parent, a black person with two parents is much more privileged, quote unquote.
Totally.
And I also object to this. I'm just using this terminology because that's what makes sense to people in the modern day. But I reject this concept of privilege as well. largely.
You really do?
I genuinely do. I genuinely believe, if there was a black kid born and a white kid born into more or less the same situation, that they'll have more or less the same opportunity at things. Yeah, I believe that.
So
I agree with you on that.
So you would say that a white person who graduates from the same college, would the black person, the white woman that's graduated from let's say Rutgers, and a black person that's graduated from Rutgers, they're both going for the same job, they're both equally talented, you think that it's an equal playing field? You don't think that?
So, if anything, I think it's easier for the black man to get the job over the white man for diversity's sake. And then also, I wanted to make note of this one statistic. Before women choose to have children in the same place as where a man and woman would work, before having children, women actually out-earn their male counterparts until they have children. Well, still, women are out-earning men, right?
Yeah, that's presently, yep.
Yeah, so I just wanted to note that.
No,
so I think white people, if anything, are disadvantaged there, genuinely. And if you said that resume sending for colleges, affirmative action would like confirm what I'm saying.
But then if that's the case, then why are the numbers? The numbers don't support that, though.
What don't the numbers support?
What I'm saying, Elad beat me to the punch, because every job interview I ever got, I crushed all my white counterparts every single time. And the reason why I crushed them, I know what it was. I mean, I do a great job interview, but the reason was, it's like, wow. Because the other 3 white kids came in before, they speak very clearly, they carry themselves very well. This black guy does the same thing, but man, he's black. Diversity reasons, we're going to hire him over the 3 white guys. We have plenty of white guys working here. If you have a sharp black guy coming here with a suit and tie, we're going to crush the game.
How many black people are at your job?
In the office, or in the office too, me and
how many white people are in the office?
There is a Jewish-owned company, so and they're
pretty predominant. Is it predominantly white?
No, Hispanic.
Does Jewish count as white?
In this argument, yes. For this, for this argument, yes. Because if we're going to do white, black, we're going to put Jewish people in as white.
No, that's fine. But the majority of people that work there are Hispanic because of the warehouse. But the guys.
But I'm talking about like in the office. Like the Spanish people are not working in the office, right?
No, but
that's black and white.
They can still make very good money though. They're getting paid by job.
That's fine. But you and the white people are the only ones in the office. That's just they're not going to.
And Vanna too.
Huh?
Me and Vanna.
Okay. So
a black woman.
Oh, okay.
She was there the longest.
So that's what I'm saying. But what I was going to say is that predominantly in the workforce, obviously there's more white people than black people. So that's also, there's 15% of white people, black people in America alone. So there's always going to be a majority white everything in the office. If you go to Facebook, I've been to Facebook. I remember counting, like, there's like maybe 5 of us, and everybody else in there was...
Well, what does that mean that black people are in a minority in some situations? Because I'm Jewish, and Jews make up a minority in most situations as well.
True. But again, for this argument, we're putting you in the position...
I don't want to be put in a white person. I'm not white.
And if
anything, I'm a Jew of color because I'm of Middle Eastern descent.
Earlier you said you weren't... earlier, and I was going to ask you about
that. I'm from the Middle East.
Yeah,
but I was going to ask you, earlier you said I'm not a person of color. So I thought to myself, but you're from the Middle East, but you wouldn't call yourself...
No, if anything, at first I identify as an individual. And I think that's a very important thing.
Fine, but if the census, what does the census say?
Honestly, the census doesn't have a box for me to check off. They don't have a box from they like when filling out applications. This has been a problem for me before. I've like argued on the phones with people. So the Jewish stuff is a separate thing because there's also a separate type of hatred and bigotry towards Jewish people. Anti-Semitism is a big thing. Not only right-wing anti-Semitism, not only left-wing anti-Semitism, there is Muslim anti-Semitism. So the Jews face specific things. So I don't want to lump them all.
No, but let me say something.
The
Jewish experience is very. See, again, that's very nuanced because it's what the suffering that Jewish people went through in post World War II.
It goes back to the Bible.
You can't, the Holocaust, like we can't, it's horrible. You know what I mean? You can't even, it's horrible. It's like slavery. It's horrible. It's like two things.
Jews throughout mankind, their existence have been treated pretty bad.
Yeah.
Israel was
black people too. Black people everywhere have been treated badly. And that's why
black people we can't play victim because we're not the only communities of people that got treated bad in our past.
I mean, I agree with, this is when I say I don't want victimhood. This is how I feel. And I want to make sure that I'm clear about this. I believe that victimhood with people of color is when you kind of just settle into whatever your surrounding is, where you can there's been stories like LeBron James is a great example, even though he's an athlete, and that's not the example I really want to push, but just on the surface, you know, his mom was like 15. She was she was a little bit out of sorts. He rose.
Dr. Ben Carson.
You know, Dr. Ben Carson. Like, there's so many examples of people of color who have, like, and he's a doctor. Like, he went to med.
The first neurosurgeon
neurologist.
to separate
Yeah, like
twins from the brain.
Yeah, like, so for you, it's like, so you can't just say because I'm in the projects, I have to, like, that's it, my life is over. It's like, no, you can break out of that. You can really break out of it. It's not easy. It's never going to be easy, but nothing is easy. Just like
Bloomberg's from what was it? The CEO
Brooklyn?
of Starbucks.
Yeah. Oh, not Bloomberg. That's. You talking about Bloomberg or
who was it from the projects? Who
Schultz?
Yeah.
He's from the
Schultz
from Brooklyn.
From the Brooklyn projects, and is a billionaire.
He's killing it.
So
he's the CEO of Starbucks or something.
Yep. And he was gonna run, but then he was like, they threw him out real quick.
So no matter where you're at in America, you know, I believe in the American dream, and you know, you have the opportunity to really rise up.
Right.
And if there's something to show for it, it's that this guy, I mean, from the Brooklyn projects to a billionaire, he made it. So, and that really goes against the notion that all wealthy people are only wealthy because of their ancestors, because it's generally not true. I just wanted to put that out there, that rich Americans generally earn their wealth.
Very true.
Yeah, I mean, but there is still generational wealth that is passed down. There are Anglo-Saxons that have like the Johnson & Johnson, the Hiltons. Like, there's some of them that have
the
been
Bezos,
around, the
the Bill
Rockefellers.
Gates,
these are new.
Mark Zuckerberg.
These are all new. They're all new billionaires. Do you know that this is like the first year that we've had more billionaires ever obviously this is like the biggest we've ever had ever.
We have more billionaires,
you know what I mean?
baby.
We just
Let's
have more
get it.
and then also technology. So
come get your money, man.
Come get your money.
Go get it, man.
You know,
it's out there.
First of all, everyone sitting in this room we have the opportunity to be the next billionaire. Okay, we have, like, for us, it's like put your resources together and
there's
figure it out.
There's been a black billionaire before, right? I think LeBron James is a billionaire. Oprah is a billionaire.
LeBron isn't a billionaire.
LeBron's not? I thought his Nike deal was worth
Michael
$1 billion.
Jordan is.
Jay-Z's a billionaire.
Michael Jordan, Jay-Z.
Are there any
Oprah.
outside of the entertainment
Absolutely.
industry?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
BT, the founder of BT. He's
not,
a
but that's not.
big Trump supporter, by the way. Always sending out love for Trump. But yeah, he's a billionaire.
I wanted to actually, this might be a good pivot into the next.
Robert Smith, I think you're talking about, the black, he's the hedge fund guy who is a businessman, and he's a billionaire. And also the other comedian guy, Byron Allen, he's a billionaire, but obviously he was a comedian. But he's technically not a traditional comedian. Like, he was like into TV. He was so dope. If you watch his story, I think you would appreciate it. He literally just created a show on TV and bought it and owned it, and outright just had advertisers paying him instead of having the channel, like a network, pay for his show. He was like, I'm just going to take a chance. And it was like this kind of low level show, but he basically had a lot of actor friends sit in, and it became very popular. And now he's a billionaire. He's bought a lot. He also owns a weather channel. I think I talked about him before. But yeah, so there's a lot of black billionaires. I want to say
America has the most black billionaires. So
Nigeria has a black billionaire too.
Are they actually billionaires? Or?
Yeah, absolutely. They own the technology. You have to think about
dictators?
it. Well, no, it's not.
No credit card schemes.
No. Oh my gosh. No, it's a business.
Best opportunity for a black person to become a billionaire might be in the United States.
Oh, definitely.
For sure.
The American dream, baby.
Sure.
The American dream, man.
For sure. There's no other chance.
God bless America.
So let's try to get another topic in, because we're having that was a good conversation. But I wanted to talk to you guys about some of the election results. There's been kind of an interesting trend. People who are against Trump seem to win. At least for this past election last week. Juli Briskman, who was fired from her job as a marketing analyst for Akima, a federal contractor in Herndon, Virginia. You know that place?
I have no clue about Herndon.
Okay.
I know Virginia, but
after giving President Trump's motorcade the middle finger while cycling in 2017, Juli recently won a seat as the county board of supervisors, and she beat a Republican incumbent. How do you guys feel about this new political process where, you kind of, it's almost like a direct, and we have another example where the Kentucky mayor, he won his election and he's a Democratic candidate, Andy Beshear, who beat a Republican. And then we had another person, the first black mayor in Alabama, who also was running. And it just is this like a direct like action towards the Trump presidency? Do you guys see that as a new trend, or you think that's going to be something to worry about in 2020?
I wouldn't read too far into it.
No.
In either cases, I think they only lost a couple of actual seats. And I know for that latter example that you gave, I believe it was in Kentucky. What was that guy's name again? Could you read it?
Andy Beshear.
Andy Beshear, like he won a very tight race.
Yeah.
He ran as a moderate, so this isn't like
And the guy,
an indictment on moderates. This is saying something that maybe more people are rejecting the far left and the progressive ideas. And I also think he only lost there by a couple of points. There was a libertarian candidate there who kind of played spoiler there.
He got 2% of the vote.
Yeah, so I mean, we could read into this, but let's just hold our horses and wait and see what's going on. I think we could read more into the polls that talk about how some certain Democrat candidates would run against Trump. I think Biden, this is a New York Times poll, I think Biden was running the best against Trump, and then Bernie and then Warren was running the worst. So I'd read more into those than into these special elections.
What do you think?
I don't think it's that much to read into. Like I said, Elad made a good point where he spoke about the gentleman where he's running against running as a moderate for one, and so he's not really coming with the left-leaning propaganda that got him the win. So that's one thing to look at, and I really think the 2020 election is going to really lay it all out, because it's going to be a Trump landslide in my opinion. And when that happens, that to me needs to happen, because it's time for the people on the left, when it comes to policy, to step their game up. So I think once they do that, they're going to get away from this far leftist AOC, Rashid Tlaib nonsense, and hopefully we can get back to that more moderate Democrat like they were in the 90s.
I wanted to piggyback on there. One last point on this. The Democrat that won in Kentucky, I believe his father was also a politician. We might need to fact check me on that. However, anytime I see somebody being a politician, somebody being a governor or something, and then their son also being a governor is complete garbage. It's complete nepotism. I hate it when I see it happening with the Cuomos.
Yeah, he was a governor.
So he was a governor. So this is always something we should mention every time something like this happens. Same thing with Andrew and Chris Cuomo having Mario Cuomo as their father. He used to be the governor of New York. Same thing with the Clintons. Same thing when we talk about
the Clintons don't have any.
Chelsea Clinton works on exec boards. She's on exec boards.
Yeah, but she's not running for anything specific. She could have won for Chappaqua. She didn't.
Give her time.
The same reason that I'm upset about what's going on with Hunter Biden being on exec boards. And look, this doesn't. This also hits the president. I don't like seeing Trump's kids involved in any of Trump's activities. Really? I don't want to see Ivanka Trump at the Helsinki summit. What's she have to do with it? Why is she there?
Husband?
I don't want Jared Kushner doing this Middle East plan. Who's God. Jared Kushner? Who's Ivanka Trump? These are Trump's kids. But we need to be consistent here. So just how I hate it when I see this governor, right? Just people getting comfortable with their families. I hate that. I hate seeing that.
Well,
Republican side, on the Democrat side, we need to call it out.
Well, let's talk about
corporations are comfortable with. Once they have a relationship with somebody, they know their children, and they're kind of already established. They have the name, and that's the kind of the idea. I understand it from like the lobbyist perspective and the people's familiarity and comfortable perspective, but just anybody else looking in. There is a degree of nepotism, and I don't want any of that in my politics. No Trump kids, no Biden kids, no Chelsea kids, none of this governor stuff.
No Bush kids.
No Bush kids. No Bush kids.
No Bush
no double dipping with the Clintons. Same with the Kennedys. I'm against this, and everyday Americans should feel the same way.
Well,
I totally agree with that, except for one.
Screw dynasties, man.
Only one I'm for in a way is Trump and his kids.
Oh, God.
Because Trump is he's draining the swamp, man. And when you drain the swamp,
he's draining the swamp, and then he's putting his own swampiness.
Swampiness.
But hey, inside of swampiness, though.
How do you know they're not swampiness? We didn't vote them in.
What qualifies them to do any of this stuff?
Their business sense. I think politicians are not.
Where did they work outside of Trump? Where did they work that they had all they did was go to good colleges that Trump could have paid for, and then they worked for Trump daddy.
So they're educated, people that worked over for a multi-billion-dollar company.
Yeah, but again, your dad. That's your dad. Like, you don't think your dad would have given you that job?
Have you seen him do business? Have you worked with him? And
I have not.
Exactly.
From strictly an optics perspective, don't you think it's bad optics to have your kids working on any part of your presidency and your candidacy? And
I don't believe in
optics. Just optics.
Look, I'm up against any kind of kingdom type setup at all. I think that's the reason we got away from Britain. I don't believe that we should bring that to America, where your kid and your granddaughter and all that. No, I don't believe in that. But with Trump, only reason is because of the fact that he's attacked so much by so many people. He's only have so many people that he can trust, and that includes his family.
Last question: do you think our founding fathers would be happy to see the trump kids involved in his captaincy?
Oh, heck
no. Why not? Why wouldn't they?
Oh, no.
You could just say, hey, founding fathers, listen, Trump can't trust anybody.
Right.
He could really trust these kids.
But I'll show them the internet, and I'll show them establish a Republican Party and Democratic Party, and say this is what we're dealing with now, founding fathers. They're like, how the heck did that happen? Mm-hmm. And that is going to make them say, well, I guess maybe his kids aren't a bad idea.
All right,
times have changed.
Next topic. Since we're talking about the Trump kids, let's go into Donald Trump Jr. Recently was pushing his new book. I think it's called Triggered. Yeah. Are you going to read it?
Of course I'm going to read it.
What a trash name for a book. Talk about unoriginal. A banal title. Can't you be more creative?
I actually like the title, though. Triggered.
How many other comedy specials or books have just been called some form of Triggered? How many YouTube videos? How many headlines?
Topical.
It's so garbage.
But think about the marketing. He does a book Trigger. It goes on The View where he triggers people. Everybody on The View.
It's actually top. So
that's marketing. Good marketing.
I think
it's
brilliant, actually. I think you have to understand people aren't as educated, and I think there's a subtitle under it, but it's like people are
marketing.
Yeah, people you've got to sell it to me. All these books have been really bad. All these past books.
What percent of people buying the book are reading it? Do you think?
Oh, that's a good question. Ooh. These are just supporters. These are just strictly Trump supporters.
Trump said he read the book in an Instagram post today. Do you guys think he read the book?
I think he absolutely did not read the book. Absolutely did not. He hasn't read, maybe he's probably read 2 books. He probably hasn't even read The Art of the Deal.
Yeah. Who do you think wrote Don Jr.'s book? Don Jr. doesn't know how to write.
I mean, I think Don Jr. is smarter than his dad.
Disagree.
What?
Strong disagree.
They're more educated. They've been to better schools.
So I don't think education means a thing. I don't care about your degrees. Really? I don't care about your bachelor's. I don't care about your master's. I don't care about your PhD.
I think Trump
those are all just artwork on the wall. That's all that is to me. Good artwork on the wall.
But you can't say that because people. You can't say that because people literally study. People literally. It's kind of funny to say if someone graduates from Harvard or Columbia University, if they literally were in school studying, learning, understand, someone like Obama is way more intelligent, maybe book smart than a Trump, and Trump might be a little bit more
street smart.
But I think most successful people in business are people that are gutsy, that they can they will take. He's been up, he's been down. We don't know how much he's worth, but he's gutsy. He knows how to keep fighting. This guy had no banks in America wanted to give him any money in the 90s. He had failed every business. He had bankrupt freaking Atlantic City, and no banks were like, nope, we're not giving you any more money. You lose too much money. And he went overseas and found money and found ways to reinvent himself. So I do think that there's a smartness about him, and he has that street smart.
He's a hustler. He reps New York.
He's tough.
New York.
Can I tell you my favorite Trump story?
He's Teflon Don.
Hey, what's that?
So it's from Ivanka Trump, I believe. It was one time, I believe, not during the Depression, but during one of the economic downfalls, maybe the housing crisis, something like that. Yeah. So it's
I like that story.
Trump's walking by, complaining to Ivanka, saying, "You see that guy, that homeless guy on the street there? That guy has more money than me. This guy has more money than me."
Yes.
If there's one thing Trump is, it is the most media savvy president we've ever had by leaps and bounds, and it shows. So if there's one thing about him,
you can't forget that he's been running for president since the 80s. It might not have been he publicly said I'm running for office, but he's put himself in every single opportunity that he can get himself in, whether it be hanging around athletes, whether it be hanging around celebrities, whether it be putting himself, which I think is the nail in the coffin, which is what his Apprentice show, it showed him for 10 years sitting in an executive chair where he's firing people. You're fired in front of America. And he had the highest ratings. And it just showed, you had all these silly reality people coming in front of him and Mr. Trump, you're fired. That thing, that's what got him the election. That's really, that right there literally made him look, and it's a TV show, America. It was a show. Everybody that was on that show, no one got business, no one worked for him. People, like, there's one story of one of the winners, the first winners, I forget his name, I know he's a black guy, but he said that he actually went because they had to do this. This was legally, you have to, like, actually, if it's a contest, so you have to, like, have him work at your office, like that, whatever that case was. So he was there. And it wasn't for too long, but he remembers, like, Trump would get, like, newspapers brought to him, and they would be like highlights of, like, just different highlights in all these newspapers, and he would just go through it, and then he realized that all the newspapers, he wouldn't read anything but just what they said about him. They were all highlights of just whoever was talking about it. So that's where it kind of ended. That's where it goes to what Elad was saying about how media savvy he was. He knows. He's been doing this for so long. He knows. He knows how to do it. He would talk. He probably would have sat in our podcast had we had a podcast in the 90s. Like, he would have sat. He would have done it. Yeah, he would have. You know what I mean? And that's why and that's why I never call him a racist. I don't think he's racist.
You don't think he's racist?
Absolutely not.
Nothing like that. How about xenophobic?
No, I don't think any
sexist?
of that. I think he's sexist. But most men are sexist.
What is sexist in the modern day, though?
It's. I mean,
do you think men and women are different, right?
Absolutely.
Do you think a man can become a woman and a woman could become a man?
No, I think women can you can yeah, if you're a trans person, absolutely, yeah.
So can men menstruate?
No. Biologically, no. That's what I'm saying. Biologically, we can't, but we can get the parts if we plastic parts or whatever the parts they're giving you. Hey. You can get.
I think you'd be canceled. I think cancel culture would cancel you in a minute.
I know.
You'd be done just like that. That was so. Because I was going to follow up and rail against the universities, because I was going to say these universities, they're not teaching the kids anything. They're brainwashing them. They're saying men can be women and women can be men. They're calling America fundamentally racist and things like that. And those are such backwards things that anybody calling these intellectuals somehow more advanced, like these should be the leaders. I look at it and I laugh. And like, this is what's making higher education a joke in many senses. And that's nothing to say about the STEM fields. I respect the STEM fields. Yeah. I just think some of this liberal arts degrees angles, this women's studies degree angles have been doing more harm than good. That's one of the reasons I'm against free college. I don't want to pay for these dumb degrees. I will pay for the STEM major degrees. If you want to do something like that, science, I'm more inclined to pay for an engineering degree that might have some payoff in the future.
Copy.
But any of these women's studies stuff that has any of these art degrees that has no potential, it's a bad investment.
Other than giving you blue hair and yell in the middle of the street.
Just so you know, they do that in Israel. They do that in Israel.
But can I just say, can I just clarify? I do believe that here's my thing, because I was even having this conversation the other day. I feel like trans women are important because if they need to feel, if this is how they feel, then it's fine. That's whatever you feel. Like, I can't judge what you want to do.
Do you judge Rachel Dolezal feeling like a black woman?
No, I don't even care about that. I think that's like silly. I think that's just like,
but couldn't you say, like, why don't you give, so you would confirm their identity, like a Sean White guy, that's fine.
I don't even think that's a bad thing that she wants to be, like, I mean, I think I'm like in a minority for saying that, but I like, if she identifies as black, again, what does it do to you? Like, how does that change your life? In what way does that change my life?
Doesn't that cheapen the marginalization of these communities?
Not at all.
So black people experience a different thing would be the full process.
There's black people who think they're white too. There's black people who identify, or maybe not think. Some might. There are some people, but there's some that are just only hang out with white people. There's black men that only want to date white women. Like, there's some people, and it's like, live your life as you will. You can't judge people. That's
when I worked at a company, FYE, in Arundel Mills when I was younger. I was like 19, 20 years old. There's a white dude that, would hang out there, and it was a CD store. And like, back in the day when CDs, people actually went to stores and buy CDs. And he would come around and always talk to me, man, talk my head off, man. And he was like this hood white dude. And it got on my nerves because, back then, people know the terms that we used back when we were younger. We used a term called wigger, which is like a white person that had black.
Yeah. I forgot.
And, all that good stuff. So in my head, I always think that this guy, here he is again with this nonsense.
Right.
And one day he's like, man, can you come over just chill with me one day? I'm like, all right, man. So after work, I drove to his crib. We hung out. And this guy lived in the hood. And when I was walking around, I was like, walking around like, get me out of here, man. But I saw black dudes would come up to him, and I'm like, okay, you're about to fight somebody. What's going on? And they'd be like, yo, what's up, man? Jason, what's up? And they were all cool with him, and he would chill. We kicked it with him. He knew, and everything was genuine about him.
Right.
So when I saw that, I said, look, it's not about skin color, man. It's about content of character.
Right.
This is this dude's character. That's what he grew up in. That's what he knew.
That's how I feel
and
about Rachel Doe. Great example, Chris. That's exactly how. So that's why we can also say for the trans people, if that's what they want to be, if you think that being a woman is wearing a dress, I have something for you. That's not the only thing that makes women, okay? There's so many other things. But if that's how you identify, God bless. Enjoy. Do it. I say continue with what makes you happy. We can't judge you, and we shouldn't mistreat you either. And that's it.
Sure.
Everybody should live like that. It's
tolerant.
so easy. Like, it's like the easiest thing. Why do I have to mistreat you because you're black, because you're trans, you're gay? Like, it's stupid.
I don't think it's about mistreatment.
So dumb.
I don't think we shouldn't treat LGBTQ or trans people any differently. However, just because I think it is a certain gender dysphoria. I think to a certain degree, it is a mental illness. And I think by telling people that, hey, we should cut your appendages off, some of your appendages off, and perform these surgeries to try to confirm what you think in your head. When I think it's a mental illness, I think it's a bad thing that I'm confirming your mental illness and telling you, hey, it might be a good idea to mutilate your genitals or something like that. That's a genuinely bad idea. If you did that, if you wanted to do that with any other part of your body, I'd hope we'd say, hey, you might be going through something, but I don't think this might be the right path. But hey, if it's what you want to do, I'm not against people transitioning if that's what they want to do and that's what they see fit. But I just don't believe in reality you're actually becoming the sex you believe. One thing I need to say about this is, though, with children, it's a different thing. Mm-hmm. We need to figure out when it makes sense to allow children. I don't think anybody under the age of 18 should make that decision, even under the age of 25.
I mean, 18. I think 18. When you can vote, you should be able to choose what sex you want to be.
Sure.
But
would you be against it like around 13? Because that's what they're doing right now.
If I'm a parent, I have to pay for it. Hell yeah, I'm not spending my money for you. And then if
do you think if the situation was okay,
if you want to dress like a man and you're a girl, that's fine. But I'm not paying for a surgery until you are 18.
Illegal
where you
for 13-year-olds?
I think they should wait. I think
it be
they
illegal?
Should wait. Should they be illegal
for 13-year-olds? I think that's child abuse.
I mean, if you're
hormone blockers to a 13-year-old child.
I don't judge it, so I'm like letting you live. But I personally think for my own child, if my child
could a child make that decision though? Isn't that bad parenting?
I say 18 years old. I say my thing is when you're 18, make your decision. Mm-hmm. If that's what you want to do after 18, God bless you. I'll be there to support you.
Should parents be allowed to transition their kids at 13 if that's what their kids think?
I think it's too early. I think it's too early.
I think that should be illegal. I think that's child abuse. I think it's obviously child. I think it's obviously child abuse. How isn't it child abuse?
It's because
I don't see the correlation.
Your child doesn't have the mental capacity to understand whether or not it's trans, and to be able to give it hormones to change its development, its natural development. That kid can't make judgments for itself, right? We don't let children decide whether or not they should take other medicines, right? Why should we allow them?
But it's a different thing when you're like when you're a parent and you have see, the difference is we can talk because we're not parents here. None of us are parents. So we don't know what it is to be a parent of a 13-year-old girl who is crying every day because she feels like she's in the wrong body and she's depressed and she's suicidal. And what are you going to do? You're a dad. You're going to be like, you know what? All right, let's go do it.
I do think race and gender.
Think about it. Like, you guys can't forget.
When it comes to this,
80% of people desist after having any gender dysphoria. I just wanted to get that in there. Any children, they desist. Like, they stop believing. Like, let's say 80% of the kids who believe, if we just reinforce the natural sex, they
right. But I'm just saying. Wait, can I just ask you guys a question?
Let me clarify. Because I'm going to clarify. There's a difference between race and gender. Race to me is, you feeling black, you grew up in the hood, okay, whatever. That's not a big deal. Gender is a mental disorder. So when you're talking about somebody young talking about I feel like a boy, I feel like a girl, I'm not going to take that and say, okay, well, I guess you're right. I'm going to say, no, there's something upstairs might be a little off there, because that's like a kid saying to me, like, oh, I feel like I'm a unicorn this morning.
Right.
You're not going to say, oh, yes, son, you're a unicorn. Let's put a little horn in your head and we're going to treat you like a little horse. No, you're going to say, no, you're being a kid. Your imagination's running wild.
But if you have a 13-year-old daughter who's crying every day and depressed and suicidal and feels like she is born in the wrong body and she wants to be a man and she's crying every day, Dad, I really want to turn into a boy. So you're just going to be like, something's wrong with you. You're crazy. Is that what you're going to say to your daughter?
No, I might get some people that can kind of relate to how she's feeling, get her to talk to people that have gone through it, who I respect as a parent and I trust as a parent, and I might have them talk, because it might be the better, clearer voice than me, who has no clue what you're going through, might be able to voice.
So you wouldn't do it. You wouldn't do it then. You would say, no, you're not. I'm not.
But I would definitely wouldn't do it. No.
Let's say you had a child who was black and then said, I identify as a white child and I want to bleach my skin. Every day. No, I'm serious.
Yeah.
Every day they cried and they were depressed and said, I'm not black. I'm white.
Yep.
I need to bleach my skin. And then not only that, they abused themselves by trying to bleach themselves with random items, with alcohol or whatever. Would you take your child to bleach their skin, or say, oh man, my kid has a mental illness, and this is very sad, and I'm still very empathetic.
Yeah.
However, I'm not gonna bleach my kid's skin. So would you?
So I wouldn't like. I as a parent, if I was a parent, I don't know if I would just keep telling my child, when you're 18, you can make your decision. When you're 18, you can get there, but I'm not spending a dime to do that. Like,
is
it's
it the
just
cost?
not right.
Let's say it was government,
even if it was
Medicare
free.
for all. So
okay,
free.
So
forget the cost.
Free, all right. So that's okay. And if it was free, I would still say I'm not signing off until you're 18 because you're not an adult. And once you're an adult, you can do it. Just like I couldn't get tattoos until I was 18. Like this, there's certain, and if people out there listening,
tattoos are fundamentally different, but
I know,
fine.
but it's super different. And I'm not comparing changing your sex to a tattoo, but I'm just saying the idea of having boundaries. Like, grow up with boundaries, America. And I'm not talking, and I know some people are going to, like you said, cancel us for this conversation. I hope not.
Boundaries,
but listen to what we're saying. What we're saying is, we grew up having boundaries. I knew I couldn't do certain things at a certain age. I couldn't go out at 5 years old.
Had to be home when the lights cut off.
Right. At 5 years old, I wasn't outside. Like, there's certain things that we don't let our children do because they can't do it. We are the parent, not them.
And it seems like the times when my parents, I did get away with it, I messed up.
Yeah.
and I was thinking about that, like,
man.
Mom, Dad, were telling me not to do this.
Yeah. And I was like,
and
damn.
I finally did. Look at me. I'm all jacked up.
You know what I mean? They're like, he serves you right. You know? So that's the whole thing. It's like, when you're 18, I will support you. You can dress the way you want. We can call you Mary if you want to. If your name is John, fine, whatever you want. But you're not doing any kind of surgery until you are an adult, and you can sit and talk to people, and you can do the research, and you feel like, you know what, I'm 18, I've done it. Okay, now I still want to do it, and I think that's how it should be.
And also with me, what I'll be doing too is I'll be educating myself more, and I'll be showing my kids documentaries, having them read books, do different things.
About what? Like, what about what?
Well, for example, like, the transgender thing, I'll show them documentaries about a lot of people that had a post-op operation and committed suicide after they had it. The highest suicide rate in the transgender community is post-operation.
Is this right? Because I was saying to myself, you know what's funny? We don't hear a lot of we don't see it publicized enough, the fact that, like, because I always hear people wanting to trans into a man or a woman, but I never hear any stories where it's gone wrong, where people are like regretful. Oh, yeah. I wonder if there's
a documentary.
Do we have any numbers to support that?
That's what I was about to go to. I said the documentary I was referring to was the one that follows like 10 people after the post-op, and they're just it shows you the whole process, and they're pretty much, at the end of the day, 90% of them pretty much told you they wish they wouldn't have done it. And they want to go back, a lot of them, and they couldn't do it.
It can't go back.
And
it's over.
You kind of can, but there's not much there to it.
Yeah, you can't reverse. It's almost hard to reverse.
It's transphobic to talk about it. That's what the LGBT community will say
about us conversation.
No. About talking about people in general regretting their decisions. There are journalists who talk about this, and they're called transphobic immediately. And the LGBT community really cuts the conversation off from happening.
Why?
Because it goes against their narrative. So anything that goes against, and that's the reason why you haven't heard of it.
Oh, okay.
The reason you haven't heard of it is because it's almost like a censored part of the conversation.
Copy.
That we just have to wonder about it. But there are studies that Jesse Singal is a journalist, New York City based guy who I could send you some of his articles. I can't quote his numbers off the top of my head, but
he's talked about that.
Yeah, and he's been canceled because of it.
Oh wow!
Anybody who touches these, they get canceled.
I think people should literally,
research. And like I said, I'm not
kosher research too, because there's some studies that have been produced by some universities that have produced quote unquote transphobic results, and then are just rejected outright. So. It's bad. It seems that we're only able to produce studies that confirm, the pre-had beliefs of many people. There's a lot of motivated reasoning going on, is what I'm trying to allude to.
Well, guys,
and we're denying the truth. That's the thing.
And that's what we're here for. We got to bring you guys the truth.
Right. I do want to. I know we're a little bit over, but I do want to ask one other question. If we can get fast answers from you guys.
Yeah. We'll try our best.
Yeah. So DTJ is DTJR, is that his Donald Trump Jr.? Is that his moniker?
I haven't hashtagged
I feel like he has like a DTG or something like that. But anyway, Donald Trump Jr. recently was on he was on the news for his new book. We were talking about it. Triggered, and then we went off on another tangent.
It happens.
He basically he mentioned in one of his interviews, I think it was on The View, he mentioned that his father is the most is treated the most unfairly treated president ever in all of the 45 presidents. What do you guys think? Do you think that's true or false?
In terms of since recorded in television, because I wasn't around for the Teddy Roosevelt days and Andrew Jackson and all that. That was before
television.
Our time. I can
but that's
research
what he said.
But I agree with them, and I agree. Like I said, but this is coming from what I have as a 35-year-old male in the United States, and with research we have from books and movies. He is the worst treated president in American history because the title Commander-in-Chief alone has a title alone.
How about you?
That needs
what
to be
do you
respected.
Think?
And people don't even talk about him being Commander-in-Chief. You don't hear nobody even saying President Trump Commander-in-Chief. You don't even hear that, especially people that hate his guts. And I'm like, when Obama was president, the last 2 years of Obama's presidency, I couldn't stand him. Right. But I would not say a negative word about him because I'm like, he is Commander-in-Chief.
Yeah, you say it now, though.
Of course, he's not Commander-in-Chief anymore.
All right. So what do you think, Elad?
I don't know. Bill Clinton was impeached for less.
Okay, but what's your answer? Do you think that do you think that his son? I mean, it is his son.
I don't think he was.
He
wasn't. I don't think he's the most. What was it like the
most untreated, treated
most
worse,
unfairly?
Yeah,
I think
unfairly
it was.
treated. Yeah.
I don't think he's treated the most unfairly.
I agree.
Who do you think is worse?
Obama?
I would say no. I'd say
Obama.
Clinton was impeached for less.
Fine, but Clinton was a better president.
Bill Clinton blatantly lied to the American public.
What you're going to say? Trump's never lied to the American public.
How many lies has?
But what blatant lie has Trump came out and said on national TV, straight to the camera, facing the American people? I am lying to you about this.
No, okay, so I know there was.
He said, "How about the wall? How about the wall?
He didn't have to do that.
The wall. The Mexico was going to build it. That's a lie.
That's a campaign. He's campaigning.
They were questionable.
How many presidents have done? Every president has done that. That's campaigning. I'm going to do this.
He said you asked.
I'm talking about you're president of the United States now. You're officially president of the United States, and the camera's on you, and you say, American people, I got something to tell you, and it's a dead lie. And Trump has never done that.
So I think Clinton was obstruction of justice that got him in trouble, or he lied, perjury, I think
perjury.
So Trump got close to an obstruction of justice charge with the Russiagate. Yeah. I'm not saying that the Russiagate stuff wasn't stupid. I'm saying that there was a dumb standard for Bill Clinton, and they didn't impeach Trump on a dumb standard like obstruction.
But that wasn't a hoax. Monica Lewinsky really existed, and she really did blowjob the president underneath the Oval Office table.
Yeah, but was that?
Is that like? But is that like?
That's a difference.
It's at the very least very unethical.
But there's a difference, though. But that's a difference. One's a hoax. One really happened for sure. One's a hoax. One really happened.
Daniels,
no, but Trump's obstruction didn't
paying Stormy Daniels with fundraising money. Like that's not.
No, that's not confirmed. That's just a bunch of hearsay. That's a bunch of.
The man went to jail. His guy went to jail. The guy's serving time right now.
No, yeah, stop talking about Michael Cohen. Isn't that so crazy how quickly they just disappear?
Michael is in jail.
Giuliani might get in a lot of trouble with this Ukraine stuff.
It's like icing on the cake. If we could throw in Giuliani, like, oh my God,
the guy's a Democrat Democrats love so
Giuliani's-
much in New York.
Never liked him.
9/11.
Never liked
such a
him.
great-
Giuliani's out
all the
there
Democrats
acting
I knew
crazy.
during 9/11 were on his Johnson when he was on SNL.
Giuliani-
When he was on SNL every Saturday. Yeah,
Giuliani's out here acting
Giuliani was
crazy.
Democrats were on his
okay,
Johnson.
fine. You're right, but don't forget, Giuliani's a totally different person than when he was running running New York City.
So is Trump when he became president. Everybody's different when they're go gets a
because
leftist narrative. Once you
power.
go get a leftist
No,
narrative,
it's
you're
called-
you're different.
No, it's called
You're
power.
different now.
It's called power.
Isaiah Washington, the black actor, you're different now. You don't fit our narrative anymore.
How
You're
about
different.
That's not it. It's called power. It's when you have
called,
power.
Yeah, power. Leftists are obsessed with power. If you,
Well,
if
so
you don't
is
fit their
Trump.
narrative,
Yes.
they're going to destroy you any way they
Listen,
can.
So I'm just gonna say, for me, I think that he's wrong. I think Obama was treated even. I can't even. When he first got in office, all the Republicans said, we will not support this president. We're going to make him a one-term president. Trent Lott, in the middle of the State of the Union, got up and called him liar. Like things that every day Obama had something that they would harass him about. His clothes, his wife's a man, his wife does this. And these are like, he couldn't do anything. Sneezing was a problem. So when people,
Where are the baby pictures? I'm messing around.
Okay. So anyway, see what I mean? Even his own people would do that. And mind you, this person helped him get elected.
Yeah,
so
I did.
I'm gonna.
Unfortunately, God forgive me.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm very appreciative
God,
of
please forgive me.
what you did. Anyway, we're gonna end it here. Thank you so much for everyone for listening to Politics Podcast. If you enjoyed the podcast, please hit subscribe, leave a comment. Remember, you can listen to us if this is your first time listening. Go back to the first episode and listen. Binge listen to us. We're having fun doing this. So continue to send us your support, and thank you for the person that sent us that topic. It was a really good topic. Keep sending us those topics.
Yeah, keep it coming.
Right.
Shout out to Texas out there.
Yeah, that's our number one. Our still our number
state.
our number one listeners live in Texas, which is really
What?
awesome.
Texas?
New York's number 2. All right, I'm Kerstyn.
Everybody's favorite conservative in New York.
I'm Kerstyn J on Instagram.
Everybody's Chris Wright in New York on Instagram and Twitter.
Barely Informed with Elad, ELAD, on YouTube and Instagram.
And we are out. Thank you guys. Bye-bye.
Peace.
Ladies and gentlemen, got back from Washington, D.C. Ladies and gentlemen, I think they got something they want to say. Ladies and gentlemen, I think they got something they want to say. D.C. I think they got something they want to say.